Some people could be drowning, and you'd never know. They'll smile, they'll say they're fine, they'll carry everything alone, and even when help is right in front of them, they still won't ask for it. But here's the strange part. Most people think that's strength. Psychology says it might be something else entirely. You probably know someone like this. Maybe it's your friend, maybe it's your parent, maybe it's you. The person who never asks for favors, never talks about their problems, never wants to be a burden. They'll help everyone else, but the moment they need support, they disappear. And on the surface, it looks admirable, independent, strong, self-sufficient. But most people don't realize this. The psychology behind never asking for help is often much deeper than confidence. Sometimes it's survival. And that's where this gets interesting. Here's the truth. Nobody is born believing they have to handle everything alone. People learn it, usually very early. Imagine a child who's sad. They cry. Nobody comes. They ask for comfort. Nobody listens. Eventually, the brain learns something important. Depending on people is risky. So the child adapts. They stop asking. They stop expecting. They become emotionally self-reliant. At least on the surface, psychology calls this an adaptive response. The human brain is incredibly smart. If asking for help repeatedly leads to disappointment, the brain starts protecting itself by avoiding vulnerability altogether. And years later, that child becomes the adult who says, "I got it." Even when they clearly don't, the most scary part here is most of them don't even realize they're doing it. It feels normal. It feels like independence, but underneath, it's often fear. Fear disguised as strength, and that fear follows them into every relationship they have. Now let's talk about something many people never admit. The fear of being too much, because people who never ask for help often have a silent belief running in the background. My problems aren't important, or if I ask for help, Poepple will judge me, or worse. If I need something, people will leave. Think about that for a second. Most people aren't afraid of asking. They're afraid of what asking might reveal. Neediness, weakness, dependency. So instead of risking rejection, they stay silent. Even when they're exhausted, even when they're struggling, even when help is exactly what they need. And this is where it gets dangerous, because humans aren't designed to carry everything alone. The brain treats emotional isolation almost like physical pain. Yet some people choose isolation anyway, not because they enjoy it, because it feels safer. And safety almost always wins. Have you noticed something strange? The people who never ask for help are usually the first people helping everyone else. The therapist friend, the responsible sibling, the reliable coworker, the person everyone calls during a crisis. But nobody checks on them. Why? Because they look strong. The more someone becomes known as the strong one, the harder it becomes for them to show weakness. Because now they feel responsible for everyone's emotional stability. And suddenly asking for help feels wrong. Imagine Superman calling someone because he can't lift a box. It doesn't fit the identity. So they suffer quietly, not because they want to, because they've spent years becoming the person who never needs saving. And identities are powerful. People will often protect their identity even when it's hurting them. Most people think asking for help is about getting support. Psychology says it's actually about trust. Because the moment you ask for help, you give someone influence over your situation. And that's uncomfortable, especially for people who've been disappointed before. The human brain works like this. Control feels predictable. People don't. So, some individuals develop a silent rule. If I do everything myself, nobody can let me down. Sounds logical until you realize the cost. More stress, more anxiety, more loneliness, more emotional exhaustion. And yet they keep doing it. Because control creates the illusion of safety, even when it's making life harder. People who never ask for help often want connection more than anyone else. They want support, understanding, love. They just don't want to depend on it, because dependence feels dangerous. So they create a strange balance. They stay close enough to feel connected, but far enough to stay protected. This is why they often struggle with vulnerability. They want people to understand them without having to explain themselves. They want support without asking for it. And when nobody notices their pain, they feel invisible, even though they never revealed it. It's a painful cycle, the desire to be understood, combined with the fear of being seen. But the truth is, sometimes never asking for help isn't strength. It's self-protection that stayed too long. The strategy that once saved you starts isolating you. The walls that protected you become the walls that trap you, and eventually, the person who never asks for help begins believing nobody would help anyway. Not because it's true, because they've never given people the chance. And that's the tragedy. The fear of rejection creates the very loneliness they were trying to avoid. So, if you're someone who never asks for help, this isn't a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that somewhere along the way, your brain learned survival. But survival and connection aren't the same thing. Here's the truth. Real strength isn't carrying everything alone. Real strength is trusting that you don't have to. Because the strongest people aren't the ones who never need help. They're the ones who understand when it's time to ask for it. And maybe, just maybe, the next level of strength isn't being independent. It's allowing yourself to be supported. Think about that and let it sink in.